I do have a lot of friends on Facebook. Currently, I have 1,223 friends to be exact, and I think Facebook is like mostly fantastic for friendships. Like you remember people's birthdays, and it essentially helps you connect in more ways with your real life friendships. I think it has done something a bit weird to this word friends. It's sort of seconded it or stolen the word, and so it's a little bit grey what we mean by friends anymore. So it can mean anything from your closest best friend who is, the groomsman at your wedding, or, you've been friends with them for 20 years, to some guy who you once saw in the corner of a room at a party. And they're all lumped into the same word, friends. And at the same time as connecting us, in fact, it can make us feel really disconnected. My best friend, or like one of my best friends, is a guy called Ivor. We used to play in a band together, so we actually call him Pants. And um, one of the things that struck me, I was just thinking about this the other day, would be that if Ivor, for whatever reason, went out with a machine gun one day and did something horrible, killed a whole lot of school children, just mowed them down, just blood and guts everywhere, terrible, terrible thing. Oh, just disgusting. Um, I think I would still go and visit him at prison because I still quite like him. He's like one of the guys, one of the few people I can still be really truly honest around and really open around. And even if he did something horrendous, almost anything, I think I would still want to be his friend.
What if he did something horrendous to you, personally?
Yeah, if he did something horrendous to me, of course, like any other person, I'd cut him off and disown him. But we do seem to have this thing where we tend to spread ourselves really thin with friends. So we have a whole lot of people, and it means we're not close. We don't have deep friendships with any of them. And we also cut them off real quick. Like it doesn't take much. If they wrong us in any tiny way, we're just like, I'm out of here, buddy. Give them the chop. Um, uh, Even I think that's because we've got this perception that we have so many friends and so many acquaintances that friendship sometimes doesn't feel like it has any value. It's not worth pushing through the pain to, in fact, foster a good, strong friendship. And yet, that's where the good friendships live. It's the ones where you can have total barneys and you can be entirely honest. That's the place you need to go for great friendships. I, I think one of the things that can stop people from having deeper friendships or fostering really, truly close friendships. I have this like reoccurring nightmare for the last couple of years, and I don't know if people normally have it. I'm not sure if it's a strange one, but you're on the toilet naked, and then all of a sudden you discover that your toilet is like in the middle of a shopping mall. It has no walls, and so there's just people wandering around, and you're there on the toilet, and you just feel deeply ashamed and exposed for what you are. Oh my goodness, someone that goes to the toilet. And I just keep having that every week, everyone. But I think there's this deep set fear that we're all fakes, that we are all imposters, and that someone's going to work it out. And when they work it out, they're going to reject us and hate who we are. And we carry that around even with our friendships. I think one of the things that holds us back from having deep friendships and having friendships that sustain us beyond just 6 month cycle, just moving on from one friend to the next, is that we aren't brave enough to be truly honest with them about who we really are. I do think that God wants us and calls us to have deeper friendships, but like not with everyone. I think sometimes Christians put a lot of pressure on themselves that they've got to have these deep, authentic friendships with everyone. But I think in the way that God's created us as humans, there's this need for companionship and to deeply be known. But that thing holding us back is the fear of honesty. So we constantly move the conversation off ourselves. We are not upfront about our own opinions. If our friend voices some bold opinion about something, we often don't dare say, "Well, I disagree with that." There's this fear, I think, of being who they really are because they're worried of being rejected about that. And I think the real challenge that comes with that is if your friend doesn't know who you are, how can they love who you are. In the end, they can only love and be friends with a hologram of what you really are. With friends, we've got a choice really about whether we are honest and real about who we are, totally honest, like just throwing open to the risk that is, or we keep it superficial, or we just move on to new friends. One of the things that helped me become more honest in my friendships, and I certainly haven't got there. In one way, the best thing I've got is I know that I'm often not honest in my friendships, so that's as far along as I am. But Matt Stott was over at my house about a year ago, 18 months ago. I didn't know Matt that well. There's a part of me that still wanted to impress him. Um, and he said to me, I think it was like 3 in the morning, said to me, you know, Spanky, and it came totally out of the blue, you know, Spanky, I'm going to like you regardless of what your opinion is and regardless of what goes down in this conversation. And my word, that was the most liberating thing I think I've ever heard a friend say. That suddenly, because I don't know about you, but for me, after I have friends over, it runs over in my head. Oh, are they pissed off with me? Are they still going to like me? Have they taken? And all of that stuff goes. There's never just this reassurance that they will forgive me or that I'm worth more than the last conversation that we had. That they've invested in me, not in my opinions or whatever I put out there. And it was the most liberating thing, just hearing someone say that. And I've tried to take that approach then and do that with my other friends. And I found it just fantastic. I think there's, in terms of what people can do to deepen their friendships, you've got sort of two things maybe going on. Maybe you're someone who's not honest. And so the challenge for you is, are you willing to risk being honest, being intentionally more real with your close friends and seeing what happens? Seeing, do they stop wanting to be your friends because that's a real possibility, or in fact does it take your friendship into a whole new level? For those people who maybe that's not so much the case, have you intentionally said to your friends who seem like they're not really that open with you, have you said what Matt Stodd said to me? Have you said, you know, whatever you say, I still like you and I'll still be friends with you. I can handle whoever you really are, and that's fine. I mean, you've got to say that in a way that doesn't sound patronising to them. But you might be surprised how liberating that is for them and where that might take, the depth that might take your friendship as you go forward.